So I want to build on what my colleagues have already started. I absolutely agree that at the end of the day, a smart city must provide better services to citizens and must manage its resources better. Whether it's natural resources or man-made resources, it should manage the resources better. But I think I want to sort of step back a little bit and think about what is different about cities today compared to, let's say, 10 years ago or 100 years ago. Cities have existed for thousands of years now, and many cities have evolved in a pretty smart way. So what is making cities smarter now? I think there's a fundamental new observation, and I think it goes back to the discussion about sensors and data, which is that in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, there's just an explosion of new information that's available about everything around us, starting from the physical infrastructure, the services that we all depend upon, whether it is health or education or any other service within a city, and all of the activities that happen within the city because of our ubiquity of mobile devices and ubiquity of information captured about everything we do, processes and activities and even entertainment. So the question I think that we should ask now is, what can we do with all of this new information that's available within cities? Any city that you go to, there's a huge amount of information that's already being collected. So what can you do with that information? It's not enough to say that you have a good physical infrastructure in your city anymore. You have to say something about your digital infrastructure. What kind of a digital infrastructure do you have to capture and harness the information that is being generated to run your city better or to experience your city better from a citizen's perspective? So I have come to the conclusion that information is this new resource, just like we had land and water and air in all the traditional things and buildings and everything else. Information is a new resource that we need to use better. And the amount of information that is being generated is huge. I mean, every year we generate something like a zettabyte of information, which is 10 to the power 21. And the question is, if you are going to use that information better, what kinds of technologies would you need in order to understand that information? Because you can't just understand that scale of information with the human mind. And how can you then make better decisions based on the insights that you get? So for me, fundamentally, the idea of smart is to be able to harness the information, understand it, and make the right decisions about it, whether you are a citizen making decisions about your everyday life, or whether you are a manager or a governor of the city that makes decisions about the resources and services within a city that affects a number of people. So with that definition, I would like to go to the domains of our life in which information is available and how we can use it. So if you think about transportation, we have information about the volume of traffic. We have information about the state of the lights. We have information that has to do with the patterns of movement. If you think about safety, you have information about incidents that happen within a city. You have information about citizens, which also means that you have information about criminals, potential criminals, and you can use that information in ways that can make policing and safety much better. We have information about the buildings and the infrastructure that can help you manage emergencies much better. All of this information is available, and you can also think about social services. We have information about who is needy and what kinds of services are going to be most relevant to them. And if you're a service provider, you want to also make sure that who's eligible for certain kinds of services, whether it's employment services, social services, and so forth. So there's a wide variety of information, including water and energy and everything that's available to you within every type of endeavor within a city. Once you have that information, the question is, how do you use it to to make more efficient use of it. And for that, you come up with the idea of models. You can build models of your transportation network or your energy grids or of your building use or of your social networks within the city. So all of these are models which are essentially representations of the real world in the virtual world. Once you have the models, you can start doing very interesting and useful things, such as analyzing it, predicting what is likely to happen in the future. So for example, you can predict when, you not only know when, what kind of traffic volumes exist right now, that's real-time information, but you can look ahead an hour and see where congestion is likely to occur in the future. Or if you're a police department, you can look at one of these models and try to predict what kinds of incidents are likely to happen tomorrow at this time or later in the day. So if you have a limited police department, you can deploy them in the right way. Or you can look at demand and supply patterns. I think you mentioned already about how to manage demand and supply. You can understand the demand for energy, demand for water, because you have these complex models, and then you can manage the supply of resources to match the demand. So once you have these models and you're able to analyze it and start understanding the behaviors of these systems and then start predicting the outcomes that are possible in the future, you can be a lot smarter about what you do. You can plan ahead, you can optimize the resources that you use, and that's where the crucial difference is that is possible today that wasn't possible 10 years ago. There's new kinds of information technology such as stream computing, which looks at fast-moving data, high-velocity data in very large volumes that you can make sense out of, because this data becomes invalid very quickly. If you're thinking about the number of RFID tags that are out there and the amount of information that's coming in to tell you the state of a supply chain, for example, that information is invalid very, very quickly. So you have to make decisions in a split second about huge amounts of information. Now there's new algorithms available for making those kinds of decisions. Similarly for transportation networks and safety networks and buildings and everything else. So we have, in IBM, we have a program for smarter cities where we develop these advanced models and data management techniques, prediction techniques, and also integrating all of these silos of information that's available across the departments within a city, because once you combine information, you can be even more efficient and even more optimal in the way you manage a city, in the way you use the services. And at this point, we have about 2,000 projects that we are doing around the world in many different silos and in integration of these silos to form a holistic city. I have several examples. We have a booth downstairs that shows many of these examples. But one example I'll just bring up quickly here is the city of Rio de Janeiro, where we have been able to integrate information from 30 different departments within a city, starting from transportation to civil defense, which is a safety center, social services, and waste management, if you will, water, energy, and so forth, so that there's more unified decision-making, coordinated decision-making, and as a result of that, you have better city, better planning, and at the end of the day, it improves the governance of the city, because the city is able to make better decisions in preparation for major events, for example, or in reaction to major events within the city, crises or disasters and so forth. And so I would like to end with the thought that at the end of the day, it's going to provide better services and it's going to support better governance.